bad job in the early stages of this race. Richard Petty from Randleman, North Carolina.
And that's Tim Richmond in the red 25. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about at the beginning of the show, if he's going to win the Winston Cup Championship, he's not going to do it unless he can run better than this on a short track.
Watching Tim Richmond, Rusty Wallace, Harry Gant, and Ricky Rudd in single file formation into turn number 3. Now Rudd sticks his nose to the inside of Harry Gant, almost makes contact and spins him, but everybody hangs on. But a bold move there by Ricky Rudd to the inside of Gant.
Remember back to the first 25, 30 laps of this race. There's Petty on the inside of Bobby Hillin, and Richmond is banged into the rear of Bobby Hillin. That's Rusty Wallace on the inside, and Richmond and Wallace, and Gant is sideways. Gant being touched by Rudd. Rudd gets out of the accelerator, and they save it. Every one of them pull out of that one.
Welcome to Bristol International Raceway, ladies and gentlemen.
I was about to say that the first 25 laps of this race, you had the feeling that everybody was kind of minding their P's and Q's, setting back. You mentioned it, Bob, being cautious and being patient. They're racing now.
I tell you what, folks, I have never seen a job like Harry Gant did. The Bandits saved that automobile, and it was gone.
Here's the replay.
It starts with Richmond touching Bobby Hillin going into turn number 3. Now keep your eye on Ricky Rudd. Benny, I like the job that Rudd did. He got out of the throttle. He let Harry have enough room to maneuver to save it.
Look at this. Now, Tim Richmond touches the 8 car. He tries to get away. Harry Gant tries to get away from him. But Rudd, he had Harry Gant. All he had to do was hit the accelerator. He goes around. He hits the brake. He slows down. Lets Harry get the car under control. And I'll tell you what, Harry Gant, you did a super job right there.
Well, we aren't even a fifth of the way through this race, and unbelievable action already. And Gant is right back on the button, battling now with Terry Labonte. And they're side by side in trading paint.
This race looks like it's been going on all night. Just a moment ago, we were looking. Here is Darrell Waltrip. He is coming up. He's right behind Jeff Bodine. Darrell Waltrip, who many years ago owned this racetrack, won 7 in a row here, right behind Jeff Bodine.
Darrell Waltrip has 4 wins of this particular race and 9 total victories at Bristol International Raceway. Right now running within a car length of the leader, Jeff Bodine.
Among all the active drivers, as you can figure out, Darrell Waltrip has won more than anybody else. Earnhardt, by the way, is second with 4 wins. Bobby Allison is tied with him, and Richard Petty is 4th with 3 career wins. That is among all of the active drivers. Waltrip obviously the leading money winner of all time here in Bristol.
Running in 3rd position as the leaders lap slower traffic. They were now passing the number 70 car of J.D. McDuffie. Tim Richmond started 2nd, led for a while. He's back to 7th. Jack, what's the problem?
Well, you saw he led so well when he burned up his tires. This is a blistered left rear that was exchanged on that last pit stop for Tim Richmond. Another part of the tire story, I checked on Dale Earnhardt's tires. Now he's blistering or actually getting bubbles up here on the shoulder of his left rear tire. So it looks like once again in Bristol, it could be tires that determine the outcome of this race.
Benny, let's re-emphasize, we are not even a 5th of the way through. Well, we're 4 laps away from being a 5th of the way through. Up to 100 laps in 4 laps, 500 to go. As you see, Neil Bonnet moving underneath Tim Richmond as the slide to the back continues. It is not so critical that you lead here in the first half or even the first 2/3 of this race, just that you stay on the lead lap.
Well, that is so critical to stay on the lead lap. But it's tough to do because right now there we see the leaders, Jeff Bodine and Darrell Waltrip, and Earnhardt on the outside of Waltrip, coming off turn 4, alongside Darrell going in turn 1, has the spot.
Boy, he just breezed around Waltrip there coming down the straightaway. Now Dale Earnhardt has put himself in 2nd position behind Waltrip, behind Bodine, and ahead of Waltrip.
Well, we see these cars entering turn 1. Tim Richmond is entering turn 4. They are 1/2 lap ahead of Tim Richmond already since we went back green flag racing.
And this will complete lap number 100 out of 500. Bodine crosses the line, followed closely by Earnhardt, who was followed closely by Waltrip, and now Earnhardt making a bid for the lead. as he goes on the high side of the racetrack in turn number 2. Can't get the job done. He'll go up there also in turns 3 and 4. Let's see how they come out of turn number 4. It's Dale Earnhardt passing Jeff Bodine, and Earnhardt now is the leader on lap 101. Waltrip moving to the outside of Jeff Bodine, looking for that second spot, and he has it.
Chances are, had this been 300 or 400 laps in this race, Earnhardt may not have been able to make the pass quite as easy as he did on Bodine, but this is a tough racetrack. Benny and Bob and Jack have told you a number of times tonight, so Jeff Bodine, who has seen the handle slip away just a touch, giving Earnhardt and Waltrip both an advantage, decided, well, I'll move over, I'll hold my line, but I won't make it tough.
You know, I get the distinct impression, looking at the pass that these two cars made on Jeff Bodine, that he's saving his automobile, that he does not want blistered tires. He's going to sit there and ride until that last 100 laps and try his best to win the race. A thinking man's race.
Yeah, I agree, Benny. I thought exactly that's what he might have been doing.
Dale Earnhardt leads the Busch 500 from Bristol International Raceway. There's Junior Johnson watching the activity. We'll be right back.
I put a good 150 miles a year of stop and go driving on my car. Quarter mile here, quarter mile there. It adds up. So I use Wynn's friction-proofing engine treatment. Adding a bottle with every oil change helps stop oil breakdown and oil burning. Wynn's has added protection and insurance that helps me run cooler and smoother. And if Wynn's does all that for my $100,000 race car, just think what it can do for this one.
Wynn's, a better run for your money for over 40 years.
A typical day with the station wagon, except one thing's changed. The station wagon.
Taurus.
The new Ford Taurus wagon, with the design and performance that make everyday driving more than an everyday experience.
Taurus. Now there's an American car that has exactly what we've been looking for. Taurus. Taurus for us. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Tuesday, ESPN slams into action with AWA Championship Wrestling. It's a polite affair, so ladies first. Princess Jasmine can be a royal pain, and you can bet she'll rock the palace. Then, the showdown of the year. Bert Cooper takes on Tyrone Booze for the North American Cruiserweight title. Live Top Rank Boxing highlights a night of hard-hitting action. Tuesday on ESPN.
Darrell Waltrip has gone a lap down. He had to come in for a pit stop because of a blistered tire and has fallen back to 15th position. And just that quickly, things can change from running first or second or third to 15th and down a lap. Here's Jackaroo.
Well, here's the problem on the tire, as you can see. This came off of the right rear. And a section of it came right out. And let me give you the tire temperatures too, Benny, and you can explain it. It was over 290 degrees all the way across the tire.
Oh, we have a crash in turn number 3. That's our in-car camera driven by Rick Wilson. There was also another car involved, but it did not make contact. And here is Rick Wilson getting back up to speed, but there's a lot of damage on the right side of that race car. You can see the bodywork being rubbed against the right side tire and a lot of sparks coming from the underneath side and a lot of debris flying off of that race car.
Right now, Rick Wilson is having to go a little bit harder than he wants to with a damaged automobile, but Earnhardt, the leader, was right behind him.
So Rick Wilson now will attempt to come into the pit. You can see the tire completely gone on the right side of the car. Here's a replay.
There Rick Wilson comes off the second corner. Tim Richmond goes by on the outside, and there was somebody on the outside of Rick Wilson when he tried to go back up. He hit Rick Wilson in the right rear, spun him there. The engine is dead. See the red light on? That means that the engine has went dead on the automobile. Now he has it running again.
The leader, Dale Earnhardt, is in the pit. So are Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott and Terry Labonte and Bobby Allison and Tim Richmond and Rusty Wallace and numerous others. Earnhardt goes back out there. Darrell Waltrip also making another stop. But remember, he got a lap down just before this accident involving Rick Wilson.
You know, there's another factor down in the pits that we did not mention when Jeff Bodine found himself sitting sideways during the last set of pit stops. It rained here this afternoon, Benny. There's still a lot of water down in the pits, and I think a lot of the guys are having a problem down in the pits with that extra water.
They are having a problem there. We're looking at the in-car camera. The crew looking at the Kodak Oldsmobile.
And we have a replay now of this accident at normal speed.
What happened? We saw Rick Wilson giving the motion to somebody. He said, I guess he was telling Tim Richmond to go by on the outside or the inside. Tim Richmond goes by on the outside, and Rick Wilson tries to go back up and to the outside. Someone was there, touched Rick Wilson's car, and we can see just how hard these automobiles hit the wall.
Looked like a light blue car.
Yeah,
Might
it was
have
Terry
been
Labonte. Yeah. So the hood goes up on that Kodak machine, and Rick Wilson stays in the cockpit. We are yellow with 114 laps completed. The leader of the race is Dale Earnhardt. We'll take a break and be back with more from Bristol, Tennessee.
Feels so good coming down. Feels so good coming down. 7-Up splashing on the fun, pouring cool and clear on everyone. 7-Up feels so good.
7-Up, pure refreshment.
7-Up.
You can't beat the beauty of natural wood. That's why you've chosen it for your special home. So preserve that natural beauty with True Test Woodsman exterior stains and varnishes from True Value hardware stores. It has to hold up to the elements, repel water and resist mildew, and let the natural texture show through. So select True Test Woodsman stains and varnishes for exterior protection you'll be proud to call home from participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
Power. I want it here. I want it in my antiperspirant.
Speed Stick has the most powerful wetness fighter you can buy. Nothing fights wetness and odor better.
The Wide Stick.
The most powerful you can buy. Speed Stick antiperspirant.
By Mandan.
Skin Bracer Aftershave has what it takes to cool, soothe, tone, tighten, and to wake up your face.
Thanks. I needed that.
After every shave, it has what your face needs. Skin Bracer.
By Mandan.
Sure, your performance tires perform in perfect weather, but it's not a perfect world, is it? Introducing the Goodyear Eagle GT Plus 4, a dramatic advance in tire design that gives you great street performance in all kinds of weather, so you can take those turns, hit those brakes, and run down those highways, even when conditions are less than perfect. Look, you either have Goodyear Eagles, or you need them.
We're back and we're still under caution here at Bristol International Raceway, and with me is the crew chief for Jeff Bodine, who's running in third position. This is Gary Nelson. Gary, of all the front runners, you're the only team so far that hasn't had tire problems.
Well, we're fortunate. I think the car's working good enough where Jeff doesn't have to punish the tires. But then again, you might say we may have had just an exceptional set of tires. We've got 4 new ones now. If it continues to be the case where the other guys have problems and we don't, I think we're going to be in real good shape for the end.
Well, what's Jeffrey telling you about the car? Is it up to snuff? Is he pleased with it?
He's happy with the car. We had a little problem with the water on pit road on the first pit stop, so we planned on changing 4. Then since we had that problem getting into pits, we decided to just change 2 tires. And then when we saw all the blisters, we were a little worried. But the car stayed out there, led a lot more laps. He kind of fell into third and just hoped for a caution, because we thought we may have a tire problem. When we didn't, we're really happy.
Well, let's update you as well as one of the former leaders who's now mired back several laps down. That's Tim Richmond, who is Jeff Bodine's teammate. Richmond has had more than his share of problems. He's been in and out of the pits with cosmetic damage to the front end. They've used duct tape, and the crew has been working very hard to get that car back up to snuff, but it's bent and battered and has the Bristol bruises.
And Jack, another individual in that same situation is Terry Labonte, who's been in and out of the pits on numerous times. They're working on the right side of that car underneath. So obviously, Labonte suffered some kind of damage in that incident with Rick Wilson. The top 5 at this point, it's Dale Earnhardt, the leader. Rusty Wallace runs in second. Jeff Bodine is third. Richard Petty fourth, and Ricky Rudd is fifth. 118 out of 500 laps completed. Now, Darrell Waltrip is at the head of the line. But remember, he is a lap down. He could make up a lap here when the green flag flies out of this break for a caution. So we will be back with more from Bristol International Raceway and the Busch 500 in just a moment.
What's that guy doing?
Personal Best, brought to you by the U.S. Army, the place to be all you can be. Dan Carlisle, trap and skeet shooting world champion, uses mental concentration to achieve his personal best.
I know my basic fundamentals and my techniques, and if I live by my basics and just worry about each individual target, I don't have any problem shooting. When you play the mind games get bothering you, and you got a few head games, you're in trouble.
You're reaching deep inside you, oh, things you've never known. It's been tough, rough going, but you haven't gone alone.
We do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day.
All that you can
Hey,
be.
First Sergeant. Good morning.
Find your future in the Army.
Back at Bristol International Raceway, the yellow is still out. However, the pace car's light is out and will be going back green next time around.
Bob, one other factor. You know, we're 120 laps into a 500-lap race. 251 laps would be official should we have to stop this race. And I got to tell you, the weather has really deteriorated around us. We are encircled by very dark clouds, and I don't think it's night. Those are clouds.
Yeah, I think the word is that within 10 minutes, it may be rainy. We'll watch for that. Here comes the restart of the race with 121 laps completed. Earnhardt steps on the gas and gets away. Wallace has a terrible restart again. They begin to bunch up behind him, and there was lots of contact made, but I don't think anybody suffered a whole lot. Rusty Wallace's car will just not go. They scramble to get around him. Meanwhile, it is Dale Earnhardt. There is Wallace, who's still dropping back, and Wallace really had a problem at the drop of the green.
And so does Bill Elliott. Rusty Wallace is coming in the pits, and Bill Elliott is right in front of him.
Well, they stacked up unbelievably here when the green came out, and a lot of bumping and banging, but nobody seriously injured, I believe. Rusty Wallace has come into the pits. However, he overshot it, and now we'll have to back up into the Al Ugard assigned pit. There is Dale Earnhardt, who is ahead now of Darrell Waltrip, so Waltrip is again 1 lap down.
Boy, what a shame that is for Rusty Wallace. They had really looked forward to this race. They seem to have this track down. Rusty Wallace was in the position. We got a change for leader as Darrell Waltrip goes to the high side of Earnhardt. Waltrip in the Junior Johnson Budweiser number 11, Dale Earnhardt in the Richard Childress Wrangler number 3.
Waltrip gets the lap back once again. Now remember, he is a lap down, or not a lap down, but he's the entire length of the track down. Dale Earnhardt continues to lead this race. Now in second position, believe it or not, is Richard Petty. Richard Petty and Jeff Bodine are running together on the racetrack. There they are in turn number 4. Petty in third, and Jeff Bodine, rather in second, and Jeff Bodine is in third.
Richard Petty has some pretty heavy damage to the left front of his automobile. It looks like when Rusty Wallace was not able to go a moment ago, that Richard Petty hit someone in the back. We see the damage on the left front. We hope that that sheet metal doesn't get down and rub the tire. If it does, it could cause a serious problem.
I don't think there's any question that Richard got the worst of that. He was the one immediately behind Rusty, and he was the first one to experience the slow start that Rusty got. By the way, Rusty is back out on the racetrack, but not up to full speed again. Behind Bodine is Morgan Shepherd. Remember, he's a lap down. And Harry Gant is turning in one of his stronger performances of 1986. He right now would be in 5th position out there, although in 6th slot on the racetrack, and the lightning is rumbling and flashing overhead.
And the battle for 6th position is between the number 25 car of Tim Richmond and the number 12 car of Neil Bonnet. With them on the racetrack is Mike Waltrip, but he is a lap down. Down the backstretch, it's Tim Richmond in 6th and Neil Bonnet in 7th. Passing Eddie Bierschwal on the high side of the racetrack. Rain, I believe, is imminent. It is very, very dark in the western and the southern skies, and we are not yet to the halfway point. The halfway point would be 251 laps, and we are at 131 at the moment.
There, Neil Bonnet on the inside of Tim Richmond takes the spot away with ease, exiting turn 4.
Just to put into perspective, Tim Richmond in that 25 car, which right now trails Neil Bonnet, in the last 9 races, 8 times Richmond has finished not just in the top 10, not just in the top 5, there's Dale Earnhardt, our leader, but Tim Richmond has finished first or second 8 of the last 9 times. There we zoom into the battle for second position. That's Richard Petty in the Petty Blue STP Orange, right behind Jeff Bodine in the Levi Garrett Yellow and White.
The number 75 car of Morgan Shepherd, who is running right behind Richard Petty, is not on the lead lap. He is a lap down in 13th position, but Bodine is in second, Petty third. Then comes Morgan Shepherd, and the green car behind Shepherd in 4th position is Harry Gant. It is good to see that Skull Bandit performing well.
Benny, Harry really is coming on.
He is coming on. He has the car going. Look, he's alongside Morgan Shepherd, going in turn 3 on the inside, Morgan on the outside. They're side by side. Harry has the spot coming off turn 4.
Boy, there's a team like so many of the others, but there's a team that became accustomed in 1985 to running up front. As we look at Bobby Allison going underneath Morgan Shepherd. Morgan has really slowed down from his early race pace. There's Joe Ruttman underneath, getting back to the Gant thing. They became accustomed to running up front and leading last year, and that's an indication, boy, they could really use a win.
All right, let's go to Jack Arute for an update from the pit area.
Let's explain to you what's happened to Rusty Wallace. This is a transmission that goes beneath the car. The one that he has inside of his, this area that I'm lighting with the flashlight, is broken off. He can't come up through the gearbox. What they're trying to decide now is to whether to bring him in and exchange it or try and keep him out there just limping around.
Rusty Wallace almost caused a traffic jam in a bad accident when the green came out a few laps ago, but everybody managed to move around him as he just could not get up to speed when the green came out. The battle for 3rd position is between Richard Petty in 43 and Harry Gant in 33.
Harry Gant has the Skull Bandit running extremely well right now. Earlier on, he hits Richard on the inside. They get together. Now they're side by side.
And there is Bobby Allison also right there battling for position. Now Gant going to the inside of Richard Petty in turn number 2 down the backstretch, takes the position, and now Bobby Allison follows right along, and suddenly Richard Petty drops 2 spots.
We saw the sparks coming off of Richard Petty's car as he went turn 3. Folks, that was the exhaust pipe hitting the racetrack. Nothing to worry about.
Harry Gant, we mentioned that he's so looking for a win in this year. This is the kind of racetrack that Harry in that green number 33 right there. Now watch him move up on Richard Petty. Richard gets a little loose. Harry moves up, tries to miss him. Benny, I don't think he touched him. I think he did miss him. This is a racetrack similar to Dover, where Harry had his best performance prior to tonight when he led 177 laps. And there goes Gant around Bodine. Boy, is he coming on.
Harry Gant is a man on the move.
Bodine is off the pace. Bodine off the pace. He's going to be coming in the pits in a lap or so.
There goes Bobby Allison to the outside of Jeff. Jeff drops to the bottom. No, I thought he was going to drop to the bottom, but doesn't. But Jeff Bodine is not up to speed.
Jeff Bodine probably has a tire going, but he's trying to stay on the racetrack until the caution flag, and they feel like it's going to rain. They've been monitoring NASCAR. NASCAR's letting the teams know that there is rain coming.
And as you look down in the pit area, Benny, you can see some of the crews scrambling to cover the tires, so they also know that rain is just moments away, or at least that's the way it appears. Jack, what do you know about Bodine?
Well, Benny is absolutely correct. Gary Nelson is trying to keep Jeff Bodine out there. They have a tire that is going flat, but they're very much aware of the fact that rain may be just on the horizon. So Nelson has instructed Bodine to stay out. You can see the lightning surrounding the facility here. It could be just a few more minutes before a torrential downpour hits Bristol.
All right, here's the way they're running now with, as we mentioned, rain, a very distinct possibility. Dale Earnhardt, the leader. Harry Gant, second. Bobby Allison is third. Jeff Bodine is fourth. Richard Petty is fifth. We have a spin in turn number 4.
2 of them.
Bobby Hillin and J.D. McDuffie involved. Bobby Hillin Jr. does a 360 and keeps going. So a lot of smoke in the 4th turn. There's J.D. McDuffie, who was also involved.
And Bob Waltrip was able to stay ahead of Earnhardt. Earnhardt almost almost caught him in the confusion, but Darrell Waltrip, Benny, I think he was running not a conservative pace, but he was driving with the rearview mirror. He wasn't trying to streak away from Dale. He knew he couldn't go all the way around and catch him up. He was waiting for just this moment, a yellow flag, and Waltrip is back in it that quick.
Back in the lead lap. And look at Jeff Bodine. What a great move it was to stay on the racetrack, take a chance. Now he can come in, make a brief pit stop, go back to the position wherever the pit crew puts him.
Do you suppose they're all coming in for rain tires? This isn't Mid-Ohio, is it? That's next week.
Bodine is in, so is Dale Earnhardt. All the leaders, as a matter of fact. Here's Jack Arute.
Bodine, a great move, as we said, by Jeff Bodine and Gary Nelson. They've decided to stay out. Now they've got the luxury of the caution to be able to exchange those right side tires. Now, to make absolutely certain, because they're not sure what tire was going down, they're going to go for 4 all the way around. Now, this is kind of a gutsy move on a yellow flag on a short track, because you've got to have it done just properly. Nelson calling the shots. They've just about completed the work. They dropped the jack, and he's away with 4 brand new Goodyears.
So everybody moving back out onto the racetrack now, including Jeff Bodine. The leader of the race is Alan Kulwicki. He did not come in for a stop, but he does pick up some points as far as the Winston Cup is concerned.
Bob, it's really a great story. This is the second time, believe it or not, that Kulwicki has led tonight. He's been able to tenaciously hold on to the lead lap, and he led during another caution flag period, was back on lap 113. Yeah, lap 113. This is the second time tonight this guy has led.
But he does make a pit stop now. His pit is located on the backside of the racetrack. 149 laps have been completed. We'll be back with more of the Busch 500 from Bristol International Raceway in a moment.
For me, there's just nothing to compare with the right car on the right road on the right day. Great cars are the passion of my life. That's why, after 25 years at the leading edge of automotive publishing, I'm ready to introduce you to the best car magazine I know how to make. I'm David E. Davis, Jr., and my new passion is Automobile Magazine. Automobile Magazine is where the best and the brightest will take you wherever the road goes and sometimes beyond, with more style, more wit, and with no more boring cars. This is a magazine that I've wanted to do all my life, and I hope you have as much fun reading it as I'll have bringing it to you.
Call 1-800-643-3000 to subscribe now, and you'll receive all 12 issues of Automobile Magazine for a full year at less than half the newsstand price. A $30 value for only $14.95. Call 1-800-643-3000 for Automobile Magazine, where the good life gets rolling.
World-class athletes shoot for their personal best Monday on ESPN. The Veldklasse track and field competition promises the world's top 10 athletes in every event, competing for a spot on their Olympic teams. The pressure's on Monday night at 8 Eastern, here on ESPN.
Dale Earnhardt, Harry Gant, Ricky Rudd, Bobby Allison, and Jeff Bodine, the first 5 with 150 laps out of 500 complete. Here at the Bristol International Raceway, we're still under caution because of a spin down in quarter number 4 involving Bobby Hillin Jr. and J.D. McDuffie. Nobody hit anything, so both of those cars are back out there in competition. Pace car is on the backstretch. Rusty Wallace is the car right behind the pace car. Rusty has transmission problems. The leader of the race is Dale Earnhardt. Harry Gant is second. Ricky Rudd third. And there are 12 cars on the lead lap. And here comes Rusty Wallace in for another pit stop. He's been in and out of the pit since this problem with the transmission developed on that car.
Really and truly, I hate to say this, but Rusty Wallace needs to start at the rear of the field on these restarts if he only has high gear, because it would be just suicide for him to start up front. We saw what happened just a moment ago.
That's right. He just cannot move up through the gears quickly when the green comes out. And he really does belong at the back of the field. Now, ESPN and NASCAR present a track fact.
These lights do a terrific job of keeping the racing surface bright here at Bristol, but they also present a problem for pit crews, especially when they come in to change left side tires. Now, the shadows, because the lights are on the outside of the track, begin to get very great when you're changing the left side tires. So what do crews do? Well, they bring their own light system. Shine it down there on the wheel wells and make sure that you've got the lug nuts on right before you send your driver back out. Now, what happens if there's a power outage? No problem if you're part of the Richard Childress pit crew. Bring your own lights.
This Track Fact has been brought to you by Levi Garrett Chewing Tobacco. Time after time, the quality comes through. Now the lights are out on the pace car. We'll be going green next time down.
Bob Jenkins, you see that green automobile with number 33 on the back of it? That's Harry Gant. And I tell you one thing, I bet he's the hungriest driver out there, because there's a fellow who does not have a victory this year. Last year, 3 or 4 victories. I don't remember exactly which, but not one victory this year.
And he has been plagued with crashes. Several of them have been of the rather serious nature.
We saw Jackie talking about lights just a moment ago, and I tell you what, when they brought in these extra lights, these Musco lights, it sure lit this place up, because used to coming off right here, coming off the 4th corner, it was just impossible to see. Now it's almost like daytime.
They're not even using the track lights on the backstretch. They're all the extra lighting telecast here on ESPN. Green flag comes back out. Now we're going to watch everybody move through corners 1 and 2, and then we're going to turn our attention to Harry Gant in that number 33 car as he approaches the leader, Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt is sneaking up. He's only within about 5 or 6 car lengths. Morgan Shepherd is leading Dale Earnhardt, but Shepherd is trying to gain a lap back. Here they come off of corner number 4. Once again, Earnhardt followed closely by Harry Gant in the Skoal Bend at number 33.
Now, the guy to keep your eye on is Earnhardt. How will he play this? You can be rest assured that Morgan Shepherd is driving every lap of this race like it's the last one for him, because he needs to get that lap back as soon as he can, particularly with this threatening weather. There is 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Ricky Rudd, Bobby Allison, and Jeff Bodine. Bobby Allison, who has shown the ability to run almost anywhere tonight, and he touches Ricky Rudd. Jeff Bodine gets out of the throttle. Now he uses his momentum of the banks, the 35-degree banking here at Bristol, to move around the high side. 3rd, 4th, and 5th position, and Joe Ruttman watching.
Bodine and Allison bump there coming off of the 4th corner. Now Allison once again to the inside of Ricky Rudd at the end of the backstretch, battling for 3rd position. It's Rudd high and Allison low. Allison is going to have the momentum coming off the corner. Allison at least momentarily in 3rd, but Rudd will have nothing of it.
Short track racing at its very, very best. Now Bodine is going to try the same move on Ricky Rudd. Ricky's going to get tired of this in just a minute, guys.
There is Bodine to the inside of Rudd, and Bodine has the position. Bodine moves to 4th, Rudd back to 5th.
Drummond on the inside of that green car has lost the lap in the pit stop scrambles, by the way. He looks like he's running as quick as anybody running up near the front right now. Unfortunately, again, he is 1 lap down.
And again, paint being traded between the green car of Joe Ruttman and Ricky Rudd's Motorcraft Ford. 162 laps have been completed. Still no rain. It's very, very dark, and we've seen lightning, but we also have experienced scattered showers here in the Bristol area for the last couple of days. It'll rain hard in one place, and 2 or 3 miles down the road we'll get no rain. So hopefully that's going to be the situation here this evening, and rain can stay away from this racetrack, and we can get the whole 500-lap race in.
There we saw the white and red automobile coming up. That's Darrell Waltrip. He started last just a moment ago. There we're watching the race between Ricky Rudd, Terry Labonte in 44. That's Neil Bonnet in car 12. Terry Labonte on the outside of Ricky Rudd. Neil Bonnet on the inside of Terry Labonte.
Neil Bonnet, who has had a season interrupted by crashes as well as injuries, is another driver who, when you started the 1986 season, you figured that he had to be a bona fide candidate for top 10, at least top 5 for every race. But circumstances just haven't allowed it. There's Waltrip getting into the picture on the inside, the Buttmobile on the right behind Ricky Rudd and Neil Bonnet, and Richmond holding his own on the outside. Boy, the color of this corner at this moment is red and white. Look at all the red and white. Here's Waltrip trying to get underneath Richmond. Richmond holding on.
This is the battle for 8th position. Tim Richmond high on the racetrack has it. And Darrell Waltrip back to 9th spot. 12 cars run on the lead lap here. That's Ricky Rudd in number 15 right ahead of them. And here are the leaders. Harry Gant in number 33 has been passed by Bobby Allison. So now Allison moves into 2nd position. Gant back to 3rd, and Jeff Bodine is knocking on Gant's door there in 4th. Bodine moving to the inside of Harry Gant. Gant not running as strong as he has been the last few laps.
Boy, Harry Gant is on a roller coaster ride, Benny. He seems to get some momentum. He goes like Billy Hepp for about 4 or 5 laps, and now it's slowed down again.
Well, just before the last caution flag, I felt like Harry Gant's car was the fastest on the racetrack. Right now, it looks like he's struggling a little bit as Jeff Bodine gives him some trouble coming off turn 4.
I'll tell you, the guy that appears to be the fastest car is that one on the extreme left of your screen, Bobby Allison. He has come from several car lengths behind and now is approaching the leader, Dale Earnhardt. He's closed in within about 4 or 5 car lengths. Bobby Allison, the red and white 22.
And as you watch Earnhardt, Allison, Gant, Bodine as they go by 1, 2, 3, 4, Morgan Shepherd has been able to hold his own during this green flag segment. He's just to the left there of Earnhardt. He is on the lead lap now, but the distance of the racetrack behind. There goes Morgan by, but Earnhardt continues to lead this race. Morgan desperately wants that yellow bunting to come out, anything to bring in the racetrack, something.
Bobby Allison now within about 3 car lengths of Dale Earnhardt as they go into corner number 3. Now closes within 2, make it 1.5 car lengths.
This is the break that Morgan Shepherd needs. He needs for these fellas to start racing for that lead spot. That's going to let him get a little bit of breathing room between the leaders.
Now Allison goes to the high side of Dale Earnhardt in the 3rd turn. Let's see if he can take over the lead. They come off the 4th corner, and by inches, Bobby Allison takes 1st position.
Looked like it was very, very easy. Surprisingly easy.
Bobby Allison does have some Bristol wins, but Bobby Allison has not won here. Ready for this? Since 1972. A year in which Bobby Allison swept the 2 events, the 2 Winston Cup stock car events here at Bristol. He won them both, but it's been that long, 86? So we're talking more than 15 years ago that Allison won here, or about 15 years.
Well, you mentioned the roller coaster, Larry, and Harry Gant is back on top of the roller coaster because he has moved into 3rd again and is within just a couple of car lengths of Dale Earnhardt in 2nd.
What Harry Gant done when the leaders passed him, he changed his line around the racetrack. He's a lot higher on the racetrack than the other cars.
And Jack Arute also has been watching the Harry Gant progress.
And Benny, you're absolutely right. The reason he adjusted his line was because, according to Travis Carter, the crew chief, they're afraid they're going to blister the tires. So they told Harry to kind of back out of the throttle just a little bit and try and find a new line and save the tires. Update on the weather conditions down here in the pits as well. We're beginning to feel some slight sprinkles once again, so maybe the weather is closing in on us after all.
The leader is Bobby Allison. We have had 7 different leaders and 10 lead changes.
Something just happened to Morgan Shepherd, Bob. Allison was moving up on him. He looked like he was running faster, but Morgan suddenly slowed. Not only did Allison go by, but Earnhardt, Gant. Now you see Bodine is going by, Joe Ruttman. Morgan Shepherd had a shot at getting that lap back, but I think it's slipping away.
And the battle for 7th position here as Richmond and Waltrip continue to go at it. Now watch Harry Gant on the outside of Dale Earnhardt as Gant tries to take over 2nd position down the backstretch, wheel to wheel into the 3rd turn. Gant has the position.
Must like the outside of the racetrack because he certainly is running faster in this new line than he was just a moment ago on the bottom of the racetrack.
So Harry Gant is 2nd, Bobby Allison the leader, and Dale Earnhardt is back to 3rd position. 181 laps have been completed. Will time Harry Gant's lap this time around. See how his time compares to some of the others. Here comes Gant off the 4th corner. the clock at 18 seconds flat. And that is going to translate to about 106 miles an hour. And the pole setting speed here this weekend was 114.665. We'll time Bobby Allison now, the leader of the race, to see who is running quicker. Allison the leader and Gant in second.
Whereas it's been a long time since Allison won here at Bristol, Harry Gant, who has won 9 times in his career, has never won here at Bristol. Keeping the clock on Bobby Allison, we are told from the pits that Harry Gant is picking up the pace because he senses the rain coming.
Well, it's that close. Allison is about 1/10 of a second slower than Harry Gant. And the yellow flag is coming out because of rain. Jack Arute, how serious is it?
Well, it's just beginning to pour just a little bit. We're getting wet. It's starting to stick. But what happened is we talked about Harry Gant, and here's where you've got to begin to play some liar's poker. Gant picked up the pace because he could see those little raindrops on his windshield. No need to be concerned about blistering your tires because you're going to have a caution shortly. Now, what do these drivers do? Stay out in the rain and hope for a red flag, or do they come into the pits early and try and make their way back up to the front before it goes to the red? Benny Parsons, you know, that's a gamble that drivers and crew chiefs have to talk about very shortly because it's beginning to really come down.
I don't think anyone's going to pit right now, Jack. Well, Jeff Bodine is going down pit road. But Bobby Allison, Harry Gant, Dale Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, the Joe Rubbin automobile, Terry Labonte's Oldsmobile, they all stay on the racetrack as we watch Jeff Bodine go to work on his car.
I think we ought to start talking about rain date should this race be delayed or stopped tonight. We're talking about the next clear day, and the rain is coming down quite healthily.
It is, and the wind is picking up also. The people gathered here in the main grandstand are getting out their umbrellas and their plastic to protect themselves from the elements.
Benny, just as we were talking about it, Jeff Bodine may have made what could be a very wise choice now. Remember, if he's gone into the pits, taken on his tires, sits under the tarpaulin, he won't have to come back in when they restart this race. So by order of attrition, he'll work his way back to the front of the field while the rest of the guys that have elected to stay back out, you know, when you get ready to restart one after it's been raining, they like to come in, top off the tanks, take on new tires. So who knows, a bold gamble by the Levi Garrett crew.
It could be a bold gamble, but I think that Bobby Allison, Harry Gant, Earnhardt probably made the wisest decision, because if this race is stopped for the rain, then these drivers will go around, talk to the crew chiefs, and they will decide what kind of change to make on that automobile before it starts. The Bodine crew cannot make a change because they will not be able to stop.
All right, the rain continues to fall. No red yet, just a yellow, but it is raining at Bristol International Raceway. We'll be back with more right after this.
You better save it for a rainy day.
Just hear the stock cars rolling down that high bank track. Better keep your eye on number 5, cause he ain't looking back. That's Levi Garrett coming through. Taste that flavor coming through for you. Time after time, the quality comes through. That's why Levi Garrett is the brand I'm proud to choose. Levi Garrett.
Out here, a thunderstorm rolls in fast, sometimes too fast. And when they're taken care of, it's your turn. Busch. Head for the beer brewed natural as a mountain stream, for a taste as smooth as its name. Busch.
Head for Busch.
Head for the mountains.
You know, a lot of cars out there have ride problems. Why? It may be their springs, especially when you load up. They can cause sag or bottoming out. Now there's a solution. Cargo coils by Moog. Different from standard springs. Let me show you why. These closely spaced coils smooth the ride, and cargo coils have these stronger coils to take over when you load up. So when you hit the road, don't hit the road. Get a pair of Moog cargo coils at your mechanic or auto parts store.
This is an expose on the new Ford Escort EXP. Expressive. Expansive. Experience a new form of two-seat excitement. Ford Escort EXP.
Now, get 6.9 financing or $300 cash back direct from Ford.
A rainy Bristol International Raceway. It's not raining very hard at the moment. In fact, it may not be raining at all. We have had a little bit of a shower pass over the area. Now, the radar indicated that there were a couple of cells that could split and provide us with a brief shower, but perhaps nothing that would cause a postponement of this rain. Well, what about it, guys? Jack, what's the story from the pit area?
Well, I'm down here with Gary Nelson, and what I suspected is indeed true. Nelson has rolled the dice one more time. Gary, you've decided to come in early, figuring this thing won't go to red, it'll just stay under caution, and you'll work your way by attrition back to the front.
Well, you know, the race isn't official until you get to the halfway point. So when you have a caution for rain, everybody's going to stop to fill up their cars and to get new tires. I think it's best to stop early, get the tires changed, get the gas in it, and then the other guys, they wait till the track dries, they stop, and we go up to the front.
Well, now, Benny Parsons alluded to the fact that some teams, though, like to stop later, especially if they think the red flag's going to come out, because then you can have an extended brain session with your driver without being inside the car. But you kind of like elected not to do that. Now, you don't think they're going to go to red?
No, you know, in a position like I'm in, you just kind of do what you think's best at the time, and hope at least half the time you come out right. You never know.
Well, it looks like they're starting to make Gary Nelson clairvoyant because some of the leaders are beginning to pit, gentlemen.
You're right. Dale Earnhardt is in, Richard Petty, Tim Richmond, Terry Labonte, and Darrell Waltrip. All of these drivers have come in for a pit stop. And Jack, is it still raining down there? I can't see it reflecting through the lights.
No, in fact, it started to dry, and there's a good brisk wind, so things will dry out quickly. It looks like that was just a little dusty. You know, it was a little humid down here, and that shower was somewhat refreshing for all of us.
All right, well, by and large, we've had nice weather here this weekend in the Bristol, Tennessee area, and our cameramen went out among the countryside to capture some of the color and flavor of race weekend here at Bristol. Race fans young and old, there's a Folgers car supporter, and the Folgers car, driven by Tim Richmond, apparently has an overheating problem. He was getting some water there in the front end of the car in the radiator, but Tim Richmond moves back out onto the racetrack.
I talked about Tim Richmond earlier, and I said he was going to have to run a little better on the short tracks, but it's very possible that he has an engine problem, and he's trying to take care of the car, which is very smart in his situation, because he is involved very heavily in a points battle with Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt.
You know, Benny, something else that has happened is, again, another result as Tim comes back one more time, apparently checking the gauges on the dashboard. The pits never dry. You can see all the water sitting down there. Of course, you just mentioned that Richmond's crew was trying to cool that car down. But the problem is the pits never dried after the afternoon rain shower. We've had this one. There's a spring that's erupting down there. This could well be a factor in this race. Jack is down in the pits with more. Jack?
Well, Larry, actually, with the exception of Tim Richmond's area, the pits are fairly dry. You know what's starting to show down here, though, quite a bit, is when they've come in for pit stops, a lot of fuel has been spilled. And so what they've begun to do is drop the speedy dry down, and that's created even more of an unsafe condition because you come slipping and sliding through the speedy dry. But for the 25 car, Harry Hyde and Tim Richmond, this is going to be a long, arduous process because they've got the heat built up in that. And it could be, from the looks of things, gentlemen, like maybe they put the radiator into the fan a little bit, and that's causing a reduction in the heating because he's all bent and battered in the front end. And after he had those problems, that's when the overheating developed.
We probably saw that earlier on, Jack. He went in turn 3 and ran to the back of Bobby Hillin, and that's probably where he got the damage in the front of the automobile.
Now, a history here at Bristol International Raceway. The first race in 1961 was won by Johnny Allen in a Pontiac. We've had 51 races here at this facility, and the total entries have totaled over 1,600, and the total payout almost $3.5 million. Still yellow because of a rain shower in Bristol. Back in a moment.
All the right parts in all the right places. Napa's putting smiles on American faces.
Turn to the Napa side, where auto repair experts install parts for import and domestic vehicles. Parts backed by the Napa National Warranty Program, where brake shocks and mufflers are guaranteed for as long as you own your car, where car care pros do the job right. Look for the garage or service outlet with the Napa sign of quality.
All the right parts in all the right places. Napa.
Have you driven a Ford? When was the last time you had the kind of car that brings the road alive? Have you driven a Ford? Then you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford? Driven a Ford? Have you driven a Ford lately?
They say the best ones are the hard ones. These you don't break. You try to reach an agreement. And when you do, you head for the mountains. Busch. Head for the beer brewed natural as a mountain stream. For a taste as smooth as its name. Busch. Head for Busch beer.
Head for the mountain.
To win the 1986 Daytona 500, Jeff Bodine relied on the same Exxon motor oil you can buy in stores. Exxon Uniflow for fuel savings and tough protection. Protection against grinding friction. Protection against searing engine heat. Give your car the same protection as the Daytona 500 champion. Exxon Uniflow 10W30 motor oil.
At Bristol Raceway, the situation is delay for rain. However, it is not raining at the moment. 5 laps and we'll go back to green. Bobby Allison is the leader at this point with 197 laps completed. Harry Gant is second. Neil Bonnet third. Jeff Bodine fourth. And Dave Marcus is running fifth. We're going to try to get as many commercial breaks out of the way here while we are under yellow so we can bring you as much racing as possible. We'll take this break and be right back.
Like racing. If you're interested in stocks, sprints, late models, or Indy cars, then Circle Track is the magazine for you. Every month, Circle Track has full-color coverage of the winning cars and the winning drivers and how they made it to the top. Circle Track gives you fast-breaking news about upcoming races. You'll get guides to the major speedways, and you'll get priceless technical information about the cars, information you can't find anywhere else. You'll read about the legendary cars of the past and the most modern racing hardware of today. It's all here in Circle Track. More about the cars, the drivers, the tracks, and more technical information. America's best-selling oval track magazine, Circle Track. And if you subscribe right now, we'll send you this racing hat free with your paid subscription. Get a year's subscription to Circle Track for just $12.95. That's 12 action-packed issues. You'll save $22 off the newsstand price and $7 off the regular subscription rate. And you'll get this racing hat free. Call 1-800-441-1234 right now. That's 1-800-441-1234. Operators are
Get on the fast track. When man race is to win, you'll finish first on ESPN with innovative coverage of more than 60 races this year. The world's #1 motor racing network, ESPN.
I put a good 150 miles a year of stop and go driving on my car. Quarter mile here, quarter mile there. It adds up. So I use Wynn's friction-proofing engine treatment. Adding a bottle with every oil change helps stop oil breakdown and oil burning. Wynn's has added protection and insurance that helps me run cooler and smoother. And if Wynn's does all that for my $100,000 race car, just think what it can do for this one.
Wynn's, a better run for your money for over 40 years.
Exactly 200 laps have been completed. We'll go back green in 3 more laps. At the moment, Bobby Allison is the leader of the race. Harry Gant is second. Neil Bonnet third. Fourth is Jeff Bodine, and fifth is Dave Marcus. Pace car leading them down once again. Track is by and large dry. And we go down to Jack Arute, who is with Harry Hyde.
And Harry Hyde is literally all wet. You've been putting water down there in the radiator, but what happened, Harry?
Our ductwork has all been up in the front. It's got the radiator partially closed off, but we can't take it out, and we don't have time, so we're trying to keep it cool and maybe get a finish. The car's running about 240, and it's too hot to finish right now. So we're trying to keep it cool enough so we can stay back down and finish the race.
Kind of like sitting on a time bomb. Gentlemen?
All right, that's a story on Tim Richmond, who started this race from second position and led the first few laps. We'll talk to Bobby Allison now on radio.
Bobby Allison, this is Larry Newber up at ESPN. You know, with 50 laps to go to the halfway point, are all of you down there considering this like it were the last 50 laps of the race?
Well, Larry, what they tell me is the rain is over with, so we're going to go 500 laps. But the car is running good, so we chose to stay out.
At this point, can you tell who will be your biggest competitor?
Well, Bodine and Earnhardt are both running good, and Waltrip made up his lap, so there's plenty of good ones.
Green next time, Bobby. We'll be watching.
And the word from the NASCAR officials also is that the rain is over. The storm has passed by our area. There's nothing else on radar. We have run 19 laps under this caution, but we are about to go green once again. Pace car is picking up speed and coming into the pits, and with 202 laps, about to complete 203, the green flag is coming back out, but it's a very slow restart for Bobby Allison. He hung back until the very last moment, now steps on the accelerator, and the field is back under green and racing conditions. Might the track be a little slick, and might the drivers be a little hesitant right now, Benny?
I would think that the racetrack could be just a little bit slippery, and I would think that the drivers would be taking it just a little bit easier.
Bobby Allison has taken off, and Harry Gant and Joe Ruttman are running side by side. Now Ruttman drops to the bottom of the racetrack and is passed by Neil Bonnet and Jeff Bodine in the fourth turn.
It looks like that Jeff Bodine made just an excellent pit stop a moment ago, that the gamble that Gary Nelson and Jeff Bodine decided on was a very good one.
Here you can see about a 4-car length advantage for Bobby Allison. As the field is back at speed.
Excuse me, Bob. The good run for Neil Bonnet continues in that red number 12. He has hung in there on the lead lap. There you see him going to the inside of Harry Gant. Neil Bonnet, one of 4 of the top runners of 1986 and 85, who were winners last year, but have not won this year. Harry Gant being one of the other 2, Cale Yarborough and Greg Sachs. All winners last year, not yet this year.
And Neil Bonnet has moved into second position. Harry Gant, third. Bodine, fourth. Now Bodine moving to the inside of Harry Gant, as Gant got a little bit wide there in the third turn, and Jeff Bodine moves into third.
For you Bill Elliott fans, if you missed him for the last little bit, he did make a pit stop for about 75 laps and change the rear end in the automobile, but he is back on the racetrack right now.
Shades of the championship chase year of 1985, and it's not the same this year.
Earnhardt now battling side by side with Harry Gant. And there goes Darrell Waltrip. Gant obviously is having some kind of problem. He has fallen back now 5 positions in the last couple of laps.
Well, Harry Gant is one of the cars that decided to stay on the racetrack and not make a pit stop. The cars in front of him, with the exception of Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnet, did stop. There goes Darrell Waltrip alongside Dale Earnhardt down the back straightaway. Darrell trying to take the spot in turn 3. They're side by side.
4th position up for grabs here. And Darrell Waltrip at the moment into 4th position. Earnhardt back to 5th. And these are the guys that we talked about earlier in the show as being the short track specialists and being the ones who gain a lot of points toward the Winston Cup when we get to the short tracks.
Benny, you've gone through one of these championship years. You know how much extra concentration it takes to prepare the machine to go the distance. And what do you say to yourself as a driver? You have to consciously think, I got to stay out of trouble. I got to pace myself each 100-lap segment.
At a racetrack like this, you really have to think about that, Larry, because the competition is so close and the cars run so close together. The bumps will move the cars into each other that you have to think about it. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem like Tim Richmond has right now.
And Harry Gant may also have a problem. Jack, can you pull us in?
Well, you talk about changing conditions and problems for Harry Gant. Now the car has developed a push. It's almost as if they've overcompensated for the problem they had before, and they've changed the tires, but the push is even worse.
And Harry Gant has fallen back now to 5th position. And Bobby Allison continues to lead, but it's just a slight advantage over Neil Bonnet and Jeff Bodine. Lapping Buddy Arrington on the backstretch, now moving high on the racetrack to put another lap on PK Ulrich in car number 6.
Neil Bonnet in the Budweiser Junior Johnson number 12 car. Benny, I'll say this is his best single performance of 1986 so far. He has led some races, but I don't know, other than the Dover race that he led, I think, 60 or 70 laps at earlier this year, he has really shown this kind of strength this far into the contest. He has a 4th place at Darlington and a 5th place at Watkins Glen, as a matter of fact, just a couple of weeks ago. But he must be feeling exceptionally strong, good racing in that race car, coming back from injury.
If I remember correctly, Neil Bonnet in the race here in the spring ran extremely well until something broke and he hit the first turn wall. But right now he's running a very good line around the racetrack on the bottom of the racetrack and looks to be handling as well as anyone out there.
Neil Bonnet was 3rd place finisher in last year's Busch 500 and was the 2nd fastest qualifier for the Valleydale 500 held here in the spring. So Neil does like this racetrack. But Bobby Allison now puts about 7 or 8 car lengths between himself and Neil Bonnet, and there is Morgan Shepherd asserting himself once again, trying to get some laps back.
Darrell Waltrip is the driver on the move right now. Look, on the outside of Jeff Bodine, going in turn 3, their side. Whoop, no, Bodine comes back on the inside, but Darrell Waltrip running extremely well. There he is on the outside of Bodine as he exits turn 2. Down the back straightaway, he has the position.
It's like a bowling match up front, guys. You know, bowlers, they bowl 2 frames at a time, and Stefanich will get up and bowl 2 strikes, put the pressure on Johnny Petraglia. I know I'm dating myself. He'll come up, bowl a couple strikes, turn the tables on. That's what's happening up front in the top 5. It seems like everybody is taking an opportunity up to the foul line, throwing the ball, knocking down a strike, and then sitting down watching the next guy go up.
Junior Johnson cars are running 2nd and 3rd. Bonnet is 2nd, Waltrip 3rd at the moment. Waltrip very high on the racetrack. He's using that high line. Not at the moment able to take 2nd, and now he does at the end of the backstretch going into turn number 3. Darrell Waltrip in the Budweiser number 11 Chevrolet takes 2nd spot.
Right now, Darrell Waltrip is going high on the racetrack to try to save those tires. He feels like if he tries to hold the car on the bottom of the racetrack, that the tires are going to blister.
Now we're watching Dale Earnhardt battle Neil Bonnet for 3rd spot, and Jeff Bodine is right there also. There is Earnhardt going into 3rd, and Jeff Bodine taking 4th, Bonnet back to 5th in just a few laps.
the Winston Cup Championship with 225 laps down. Can it be happening again? Is Darrell Waltrip making yet another late season patented charge to lead? There is Harry Gant dueling with Neil Bonnet. They run in the top 5. Waltrip, Bonnet's teammate, as we look at Bodine in the 5 car, moving in on Dale Earnhardt, has only won one time this year. That's when he sat on the pole and won the race at Riverside on a road course. He's not won on an oval this year. He's coming on strong here in the last half of the season again at Bristol, one of his special places.
We see Neil Bonnet on the screen. I would think that he has a problem, and Jack LaRoute is with his crew right now. Jack?
Well, for Neil Bonnet, Benny, what's happening, I think, is some strategy for late in the race. This is the second set of tires that came off the number 12 car. They have 50 laps on them. They took the temperatures and set them back here. But this is the set, the third set that came off the car. They only have 35 laps. But I think these may be the tires they're saving for the end. Because right here is a little word, and it says good. They're way in the back of the pits. They're holding them back for the end of the race, I think.
Tire wear is so important here at Bristol, and Morgan Shepherd in car number 75 has gotten his lap back. He has passed Bobby Allison and now moves to the lead lap. And I believe that Morgan Shepherd perhaps has the fastest car on the racetrack, although Darrell Waltrip is certainly coming on strong also and closing up the gap between himself and leader Bobby Allison.
It looks like right now that Darrell is certainly the fastest car on the racetrack. And he did make a pit stop on that caution flag for the rain. He has 4 fresh tires. Bobby Allison did not stop. Darrell ought to have the advantage if there is one right now.
Benny, Allison was one of 5 cars that last stopped on lap 148. Gant, Bonnet, the numbers are make that 4 cars, and the number 71 car of Dave Marcus.
As we indicated, Morgan Shepherd got his lap back, and this is how he did it.
Just drove up on the outside of Bobby Allison down turns 1 and 2. Came off the corner. Bobby knew he was out there, gave him a little bit of room. Morgan goes in hard in turn 3, very hard. You see the sparks from the exhaust pipe. That means he went in the corner extremely hard. Came off the corner. Bobby Allison had no choice but let him go.
Does that mean, I believe, Bob and Benny, that Morgan is now on the lead lap, the distance of the racetrack behind, but once again on the lead lap, if you get a caution, he's caught up?
That is correct. There are 13 cars on the lead lap, and Morgan Shepherd is the 13th. We've completed 234 laps of this 500 lapper at Bristol International Raceway. Bobby Allison, the leader, Darrell Waltrip running second, but the interval is just a matter of car lengths. And also battling on the racetrack is Tim Richmond and Ricky Rudd, as Richmond continues to try to move back up toward the front. He has been experiencing some problems with that car, but Rudd is closing in on him.
Now we see Joe Rubbin going by the outside of Neil Bonnet. Neil still having his problems, drifting on back.
Able to hold on to that lead lap as we watch Richmond and Rudd. You know, Benny, I was talking to a few of the people earlier as we go back up front. Allison, the leader, with Morgan Shepherd right in front of him. And Allison now going around Shepherd. Back to my story in just a second. Shepherd slowed mysteriously like this about 30 laps ago, Benny. What could be going on?
It seems like that every time that he does run well for about, you're right, 30, 35 laps, then evidently he tears a tire up or something. He has to back off the pace.
So Shepherd goes a lap down once again. That means 12 cars on the lead lap. Darrell Waltrip making a race out of it, though, for the lead. Closing in on Bobby Allison, looking high in the second turn.
As we watch these 2 artists try to put together another masterpiece for the lead. Earlier today, I've talked to several people. There goes Waltrip, almost routinely to the high side of Allison, Benny. I said, I can't believe that more high-banked half-mile racetracks have not taken hold in this country. I firmly believe, and I wasn't just making that up for the dramatics of our Open, that this is the best racing you can find anywhere in the world. A high-banked, half-mile paved racetrack. There were those tracks in Indiana. Winchester, of course, is still existing. Salem is maybe temporarily closed. Dayton didn't make it, and Fort Wayne didn't make it. I can't believe that more haven't taken hold.
I tell you what, you couldn't beat the race we're seeing tonight, because this is racing at its very, very best.
Waltrip has been working the high side for the last few laps. Now is choosing to look to the low side, or at least he did there for a while. Now he's back on top. Now if Darrell Waltrip can take the lead, he will become our 8th different leader. He has not yet led this race. He pulls even, though, with Bobby Allison in the 4th turn and coming down to complete lap 243. Darrell Waltrip does take the lead, becomes our 8th different leader.
In all of last year, we're just halfway through the race. In last year's Busch 500, there were 18 official lead changes among 8 drivers. So we have matched that total, and we're just halfway through.
We have had 11 different lead changes in this race. There is Dale Earnhardt, who is running in 3rd and now closing in on Bobby Allison in 2nd. DK Ulrich in car number 6. The individual who started in 30th position in this race, the slowest qualifier at 106.529 miles an hour. There are 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
We look at the race right now. We see Darrell Waltrip a moment ago. He seemed to pass Bobby Allison, not with ease, but fairly easy as far as the pass is concerned. And you wonder, why don't he just drive away from him? Darrell Waltrip is where he wants to be. He's leading the race right now, but he wants to save the tires, so he's not going to try to drive away. He's going to just run his race very comfortably and try to save the tires. If Bobby Allison can keep up, so be it.
Richard Petty continues to run in the top 10 and on the lead lap. He is being shown in 9th position at the moment. Ricky Rudd in 10th, right behind him in number 15.
Bob mentioned a few moments ago that DK Ulrich had been the slowest qualifier in tonight's field. Watching Richard Petty, DK having qualified in 30th. There were 4 cars that didn't make it. Connie Saylor, Jonathan Edwards, Ronnie Thomas in the James Hilton car, and Tommy Crozier. Those were the 4 of the non-qualifiers here this weekend at Bristol.
We are nearing the halfway point this time around. The next time they cross the stripe, it'll be lap 250, and we'll be halfway through the Busch 500. And
the 15 car, Ricky Rudd is slowing down dramatically. He's going in turn 3 very slowly. Looks like he has a tire problem, some type of problem.
Looks like he may have hit the wall. Doesn't that front end look shortened up a bit on the right?
Well, I thought I saw a puff of smoke out there in turn number 2, but I wouldn't really want to...
We see the right front on the automobile. Something is wrong with the right front because it's towed in dramatically.
Here's Jack.
Well, we're down here in Ricky Rudd's pit, and that's an understatement, Benny. Looks like an upper ball joint may have just come, because there it is. Bud Morris said, that's it. Turn it off. There's no way you can run here with that kind of a problem. So as soon as Ricky gets out of the car, we'll get a few comments from him. Now, Dale Earnhardt is preparing to come into the pits. Earnhardt's crew, led by Richard Childers.
Here he comes, Jack. Here he comes.
Here on pit road. They've got the board up. He's coming in. They're going to work on the right side, the left side tires. They're changing both left side tires. Let's see if we can take a look at the condition. He's going a lap down, and it looks like the left front was flat or going down. Yes, it was, Benny. The left front went down on it.
Dale Earnhardt has now gone a lap down in this race.
Tough break for Earnhardt because he was gaining on Darrell Waltrip. Looked like he might have aspirations taking the lead. Right now, a lap down.
That changes the complexion a little bit. It's Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison 1st and 2nd. Now running in 3rd position, Jeff Bodine, followed by Harry Gant. Back with more in a moment from Bristol International Raceway.
Racing from the inside. No one covers it like Auto Week. Auto Week makes you an insider at the world's great races every week. In the pits, behind the scenes, in the cockpit, with columnists who race and win. Inside coverage of Formula cars, stockers, sports cars, just days after the race. Auto Week puts you inside the world's most exciting cars every week. Right behind the wheel, inside the whole automotive scene. Personalities, cars of the past, industry news. Let Auto Week make you an insider, too. Call 1-800-554-3000 to get Auto Week at the lowest price ever. Just $17.25 for 52 issues, only 33 cents a week.
Save 25% off the basic rate. Get Auto Week today. Call 1-800-554-3000. Operators are standing by. Let Auto Week make you an insider.
Our Napa mid-race recap shows you that at the 250 lap mark, the average speed was 78.254 miles an hour. We had 4 caution periods, including one for rain. A total of 47 laps under the caution. We had 8 leaders and 11 lead changes. Bobby Allison had the lead on lap 250. And we had 23 cars still in the event. Out of race, Kyle Petty was the first out, then Dale Jarrett, Kenny Schrader because of an accident, Rick Wilson also involved in a shunt, Jimmy Means, Bill Elliott, J.D. McDuffie. All of those drivers calling it quits, although Bill Elliott has gotten back into the race. Let's go down to Jackaroo.
Well, through the first half of the race, the pit activity has been just typically Bristol. Tires have been a story. Drivers have come in with battered and bent sheet metal. Let's update you on Neil Bonnet's condition. He has a tire that's bad. They're trying to tough it out until the next mandatory or regularly scheduled pit stop. Behind me, the work continues on Ricky Rudd's car. He's going to be in for an extended period of time because they have torn the front end out of that car on the right side. But because of the Winston Cup point standings, they're going to try and get Ricky Rudd back into the hunt. Let's go back to the tower.
All right, and so that's the recap on the first half of the race from the pit area. 264 laps now complete, and we will be right back.
Introducing Kodacolor VRG film.
We're all moving to a different rhythm. Our hearts are beating to a different drum.
That's what keeps the whole world spinning.
And that's what makes the whole world fun. Don't you know we're all part of the color of life?
The most accurate, realistic color in print film is here. New Kodacolor VRG.
The color of life.
Mr. Goodwrench has the right tools available. Tools of the science of automotive service. Advanced, sensitive, accurate, strong and simple, or complex, like electronic eyes that probe the mysteries of your car. These are the tools that understand and fix. These are the tools of Mr. Goodwrench. And no one knows your GM car better. No one.
For every man who wears Brute deodorant, there's a woman who'll be glad he did. Because a man who wears Brute deodorant is nice to be close to, and nobody knows that better than a woman. Only Brute deodorant gives you long-lasting protection with the great smell of Brute.
Hello.
Brute deodorant, cologne, and everything else. Brute. It smells like a man.
Great.
Benny Parsons, Larry Newbert, Jack Arute. This is Bob Jenkins at Bristol International Raceway for the Busch 500 and 272 laps completed. Darrell Waltrip is the leader of the race. The real battle at this point involves 3 drivers. Tim Richmond in number 25, Terry Labonte in number 44, and Richard Petty in number 43. This is for 5th, 6th, and 7th position. There's another car sandwiched in there. That's Bobby Hillin Jr. in car number 8, but he is not on the same lap. He's a lap down in 13th position.
Benny Richard Petty is really wearing this. Oh, and they're very close there between Hillin and Labonte. Richard Petty is really wearing the battle scars of short track racing. And blue and STP red or orange car, you can see both the front and the back have pieces sticking out. He really lost on that particular corner as both Labonte and Hillin got around the outside.
And Neil Bonnet has come into the pits. You heard Jack tell us a little bit earlier that they were concerned about a tire.
4 tires. I can't believe this. They're changing 4 tires, aren't they, Jack?
No.
I guess Jackaroo wasn't down there, but it looks like they're changing 4 tires on the automobile. What a gamble on their part.
Recently also, Benny and Bob, Morgan Shepherd finally gave up the ghost. Benny, I think you call it. He stayed out there as long as he could, apparently on blister tires. He had run so hard to get up to the front to get back on the lead lap. He kept going slower and slower and slower, and he finally came in under green, and I think his chances for victory ended right there. Allison is slowing quickly. Bobby Allison darting into the pits.
Bobby Allison chose not to pit on the caution flag we had for the rain about 130 laps ago. He's in right now. The crew going to the left side of the automobile as we watch the race. There, Bobby Allison in the pits. The crew changing left sides on the automobile.
Waltrip.
Darrell Waltrip coming down pit road. We'll see him go by Bobby Allison in just a moment. There he is, Darrell Waltrip, the leader in the pits. They're going to the left side of his automobile.
I'm pretty impressed. They did not even change the right side rubber on Allison. It looks like that Waltrip may be undergoing the same situation. They're not abusing the right side tires, despite the fact they've been running up front. Oh, great stop.
Waltrip pulling back out after having received only new rubber on the left side of the racetrack.
Allison back in.
Now coming in once again is Bobby Allison. And Jackaroo is there.
Bobby Allison coming in, and they have elected now to go to the right sides. They changed left sides last time around, brought him back out. Now Waltrip has only changed the left side, as you said, and Bonnet, he went for all 4 all the way around. Now the way they're taking on fuel, gentlemen, it's not that they need fuel. It could be that the tires are giving up. Bobby is away at 12.8 seconds.
Allison moving back out onto the racetrack. And now Jeff Bodine is back in the lead. He has led previous, so does not become our 9th. Jeff Bodine running in race traffic with Brad Teague ahead of him, and also Eddie Birschwald at number 17.
Now you figure that Bodine and Gann are going to have to come in. And by the way, Tim Richmond, yes, Tim Richmond, who spent so much time in the pits under that long yellow for rain, is in 3rd. But back to the Waltrip and Allison story. Allison got out on the track. He's about 3/4 of a lap behind Waltrip, but he did lose a lap to him, Benny. And you figure again that Bodine and Gann and Richmond each has to come in yet.
They have to come in. Right now, Dale Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip are very close, so Earnhardt looks like if this thing can go green flag for another 20, 30 laps, Earnhardt will be right back in the thick of things.
8 cars remain on the lead lap. We are past the halfway point of this race. Jeff Bodine, Harry Gann, Tim Richmond, Terry Labonte, and Richard Petty, the top 5, followed by Alan Kulwicki, Darrell Waltrip, and Dale Earnhardt.
There we see Bobby Allison. He has 4 fresh tires, and he went by that group we watched a moment ago of Tim Richmond, Terry Labonte, Bobby Hillin, and Richard Petty like they were tied. So those tires are doing the job for Bobby right now.
So with pit stops having been made, and we anticipate more pit stops here in the next few laps, Jeff Bodine is the leader of this Winston Cup race at Bristol International Raceway. We'll be back with more right after this.
Take a close look at the car that was the world's best-selling car in 1982, in 1983, 1984, and 1985. You probably know what it is. It's Ford Escort. Ford Escort, world's best-selling car, 4 years running.
Now, get 6.9 financing or $300 cash back direct from Ford.
For me, there's just nothing to compare with the right car on the right road on the right day. Great cars are the passion of my life. That's why, after 25 years at the leading edge of automotive publishing, I'm ready to introduce you to the best car magazine I know how to make.
I'm David E. Davis, Jr., and my new passion is Automobile Magazine.
Automobile Magazine is where the best and the brightest will take you wherever the road goes and sometimes beyond, with more style, more wit, and with no more boring cars.
This is a magazine that I've wanted to do all my life, and I hope you have as much fun reading it as I'll have bringing it to you.
Call 1-800-643-3000 to subscribe now, and you'll receive all 12 issues of Automobile Magazine for a full year at less than half the newsstand price. A $30 value for only $14.95. Call 1-800-643-3000 for Automobile Magazine, where the good life gets rolling.
Just hear the stock cars rolling down that high bank track. Better keep your eye on number 5, cause he ain't looking back. That's Levi Garrett coming through. Taste that flavor coming through for you. Time after time, the quality comes through. That's why Levi Garrett is the brand I'm proud to choose. Levi Garrett.
The Busch 500 from Bristol International Raceway on this Saturday evening live on ESPN. We are nearing the 300 lap mark. The lead is being held by Jeff Bodine in car number 5. Tim Richmond there in car number 25 was running third until just a couple of laps ago, and he did come in for a pit stop. He's trying to get one of his laps back.
He's 2 laps right now. He's 2 laps down right now. He needs to get by Bodine desperately, because if the caution if he could get by the caution flag come out, he can make up a complete lap. But the first thing he's got to do is pass the car 5.
Remember the Richmond, the speedster originally from Ohio, now living down off of Lake Norman in North Carolina, where so many of the racers live, has been the man who has just been on fire in the last couple of months. There's Richmond moving to the high side of the Rick Hendrick teammate Jeff Bodine. In 8 of the last 9 races, Tim Richmond has finished in the top 2, including in that streak 4 wins, and he has been easily the most outstanding performer in Winston Cup racing in the last 2 months.
And the car there also in the shot, the number 9 machine of Bill Elliott. For those of you who are Bill Elliott fans, he had a serious problem. There is Darrell Waltrip passing Richard Petty and putting Petty a lap down. No, I'm sorry, that moves Darrell into 4th position and Petty back to 5th. They are on the same lap.
We saw Joe Rutland, the green Quaker State Buick, on the inside of the racetrack. He slowed down dramatically up turns 3 and 4.
And here comes Richard into the pits. Richard Petty has a problem with that STP Pontiac.
Well, maybe not. It looked like he was coming in slower than normal, but his pits are way down near the entrance to the 4th turn, Bob. He's like only the 3rd one in. Richard has been running competitive. He's been able to stay with the lead lap all day, and this may be one of the routine stops. What do you think, Ben?
I would think it's a routine stop, yes.
Quick work by the Petty crew, and he is moving back out onto the high banks. And as we mentioned, Bill Elliott, who won last weekend on the high banks of Michigan International Speedway, has not been a factor here tonight. There he is, running right behind Alan Kulwicki. He spent about 72 laps in the pits with a mechanical problem and is not going to be the winner of this race here this evening. Harry Gant passing Bill Elliott on the high side of the racetrack in the backstretch.
There's Jeff Bodine, the leader. Richard Petty, we saw him in the pits just a moment ago. He has new right sides. He should be able to get by Bodine. We'll watch as Richard Petty tries to get by. That's Tim Richmond in the red 25 right in front. He passed Bodine with those new tires, but right now the tires are giving up a little bit. Bodine trying to get him another lap down.
Now the pit stops, many of which have come underneath the green flag, really have scrambled the standings here in the mid stages of this race. So you can't sneak out to the refrigerator too many times or you're likely to get way behind on what's happening in this race. That's the leader, Jeff Bodine. And yeah, it looks like a lot of the other guys in the track are running quicker. That's because they have made pit stops under green, got new rubber, which makes the cars quicker. But Bodine, who made that pit stop at the very beginning of that pause for yellow for rain, maybe that was a good idea. Benny and Jack bandied it back and forth during that time period, but right now it's looking pretty good.
And there is Petty moving to the inside and passing the leader, Jeff Bodine. So those tires that Richard Petty now have on the car are working. And the question is, when is Jeff Bodine going to make a pit stop?
Here's Harry Gant, the 2nd place car coming down pit road.
There is is Gant sliding to a stop. Here's Jackaroo to call it.
Harry Gant has come into the pits, and just moments before, Travis Carter had said he was going to stay out for another 35 laps. That's how quick the configuration of tires can change. Pete, the only guy that has not decided to come in yet is Jeff Bodine, and let me update you on his condition. I checked with Gary Nelson, and they're saying they're going to try and go as far as 350 lap mark before he comes in for his pit stop. So, of all the front runners, it's Bodine, the only one that has decided to stay out as long as he can. The rest of them, because of tires, not fuel, they come in early.
Well, that will be another 41 laps, and if he can stay out there, that'll be quite an accomplishment.
Benny, if he comes in at lap 350 without any more caution flags, which is unlikely, but without any more caution flags, go the distance from there?
Yeah, sure, he can go the distance, but I don't think if he comes in at 350, I would think that he's going to have to change all 4 tires. And besides that, he's going to be very slow for the next 50 laps. As we see Bobby Allison right now, who changed 4 tires on his pit stop, he's gained a half a lap on Jeff Bodine right now on his rear bumper. He's going to pass him in the next lap or 2. And Bodine can't stay out there and let this continue lap after lap.
Allison came in twice, remember, 2 successive laps to change tires. And Harry Gant changed outsides where we saw some of the other competitors come in and change insides, Benny.
That's true. Here's 2 fellows that need a caution flag desperately. Tim Richmond in 25, Bobby Allison in 22. If the caution flag would just wave, they could. The leader, Jeff Bodine, would have to slow down. They would be able to make up a complete lap. But Richmond looks like he's slowing. Bodine trying to get by on the outside, put him another lap down.
When Bobby Allison is just really moving, pulling away from these two, Tim Richmond and Jeff Bodine, and so is Richard Petty for that matter.
I'll tell you what, Bob. Old Jeff Bodine, for as long as he's been out there on that set of tires, is still getting around this racetrack. Right at this juncture, he really looks like the favorite to win the race. Not because he's leading, but because he's doing so well on such old tires.
Battle for third involves Terry Labonte in number 44 and Darrell Waltrip in number 11. They are about a half a lap now, or make that about a quarter of a lap behind the leader, Jeff Bodine. Remember, Harry Gant runs in that second spot. And Terry Labonte and Darrell Waltrip now battling for that second spot as Gant has dropped back. Labonte second and Waltrip is third. Here's Jackaroo.
And let's give a call to Terry Labonte's team. The Piedmont Airlines group has just steadily done their job tonight, very reminiscent of last night's run by the winner, Brett Bodine. They moved into second position. The crew up here on the wall, they're very confident. Darrell Waltrip, though, is moving up on Terry Labonte to challenge for second position. He's going for the pass right now. Let's throw it topside.
They are running nose to tail on the racetrack. There's Labonte. But Waltrip is trying to gain that position. Down the backstretch they go. Waltrip to the inside of Terry. Staying there, making no attempt for the moment to take the spot away.
Labonte has only had 1 top 10 in his last 11 starts, but he seems to like this racetrack. In his 15 career starts here, 13 times he's been in the top 10, so he needed the shot of Bristol in the arm because of this tailspin he's been in of recent.
What's happening right now is Terry Labonte is running in Darrell Waltrip's groove. Waltrip is a little bit the faster race car, but we notice where Darrell's been running all day. It's up high on the racetrack. That's where Labonte's running. Darrell Waltrip has all the racetrack in the world on the bottom, but his car is not good down there, and he can't pass Labonte.
And Terry Labonte will be the driver of the Junior Johnson car next year, the car that Darrell Waltrip drives now. And Waltrip once again makes the bid for that spot. He pulls down and almost even with Terry. Now coming off the fourth corner, the cars nearly side by side, but again, Waltrip cannot take that position away.
Go ahead, Ben.
We saw Darrell Waltrip's hands inside the automobile very quickly, back and forth. The car was getting loose coming off that corner. He had to steer it to save it, otherwise he was going to spin out.
Just to comment about next year about the 44 car, the Piedmont Airlines car, the Billy Hagan, Wayne King team, that is right now, by beyond the shadow of any doubt, the best car that's still available, has not been assigned a driver yet for next year. Lots of questions up and down pit road as to exactly who will end up in that ride. Now, we heard tonight as Waltrip goes to the inside of Labonte, Labonte trying to follow Tim Richmond through, and the lap traffic of Buddy Arrington shuts off this bid by Waltrip. We heard tonight that the Piedmont Airlines people are going to stay with Hagan, and that they are talking to at least a couple of people of the current fraternity of NASCAR drivers seriously. They are not talking about bringing in a new person, but they're talking to somebody right now, and we can speculate in just a bit as to who that might
be. Tim Richmond moved over, let Labonte, Darrell Waltrip both go by.
Here are the people who are available. Ken Schrader might be available. Joe Ruttman is certainly available. I would assume that everybody has to take a look at Alan Kowicki after what he has done this year. Ron Bouchard, for the time being, appears to be standing on the sidelines. And maybe Mike Alexander, maybe Dale Jarrett.
Oh, Darrell giving Terry a little bit of a bump there in the rear end of the machine.
Darrell wants by. Folks, he wants by so bad he can taste it. But Labonte's in his way. He's where Darrell wants to be. If he could just nudge him a little bit, get him up just a few feet, maybe he could be able to get by. But Labonte ain't going to have none of that.
Using the high groove there in turns 3 and 4 and staying pretty much in the middle of the racetrack now, taking the high side also in turns 1 and 2. And there is Neil Bonnet that both Terry Labonte and Darrell Waltrip pass. We'll be back in just a moment with more live coverage from Bristol, Tennessee.
It's game day at Soldier Field.
Hey, there's nothing like being in the NFL. So come on, get into it.
Now you're in the NFL when you get into your NFL Pro Line jersey. Because now you can get the real thing, the same jersey the pros wear. Game jerseys for your favorite NFL team. Authentic.
That's my jersey.
Now it can be your jersey. To order your game jersey, call 1-800-453-2800. Have your credit card ready. Get the same jersey worn by your favorite player with his name and number or your own name. It's custom designed to NFL specs with over-the-pad cut, extra long body, and genuine locker tag. Made for the NFL by America's top sporting equipment makers. McGregor, Sandlin, Champion, Russell, and Wilson. NFL Pro Line. Call 1-800-453-2800. Get into your NFL Pro Line jersey.
Jeff Bodine leads the Busch 500 at Bristol International Raceway. There is his wife keeping the lap charts in the pit area for Jeff. Second position is Terry Labonte, then Darrell Waltrip, and Dale Earnhardt. Those 4 cars on the lead lap. A lap down in 5th is Alan Kowicki, then Harry Gant, Richard Petty. In 8th position, 2 laps down, is Tim Richmond. 9th, also 2 laps down, Bobby Allison. 10th is Tommy Ellis. In 11th position is Dave Marcus. 12th, 3 laps down, Morgan Shepherd. And the number 12 car of Neil Bonnet. That's the way they stand with 334 laps completed. And this is the best race on the track at the moment as Terry Labonte continues to hold off the challenge of Darrell Waltrip for 2nd place. Darrell Waltrip, a 9-time winner here at Bristol, and we ask him about the essence of winning on this racetrack.
What's the essence to being a winner here at Bristol?
Well, the latter stages of this race are so hard on you physically and mentally, and you just got to keep the right attitude. I know you can make up a lot of ground here. I've lost it that way. I've won it that way. So with that in the back of my mind all the time, no matter how far ahead I get, I never get really confident, or no matter how far behind I get, I never get really discouraged because I know you can make it up. I know you can win the race from a lot of laps down here.
Several drivers who have gone a lap down have made up their laps so far in this race. And now Waltrip and Labonte are catching the leader, Jeff Bodine, and Waltrip making a bid once again in the backstretch. But Labonte just will not give up that 2nd spot, or will he? They're in the 4th corner now. Down the straightaway, Labonte still will not give up that 2nd position. Jack Arute.
An interesting sidebar as we watch this battle of Darrell Waltrip and Terry Labonte. When Junior Johnson first mentioned the name Labonte to many of his counterparts, everybody said, well, Labonte doesn't have the killer instinct. He can't go and just battle for a position. Tonight, he may be proving a point at the expense of Junior Johnson himself. Darrell Waltrip is current driver. You know the rumors that are pretty much fact that Labonte will take over the seat next year. Well, maybe he's proving a point to his future owner leader, and that, of course, they're catching the leader now, Jeff Bodine. Labonte may be trying to prove a point to Junior Johnson.
I think it's just going to be a matter of time before Terry Labonte moves into the lead, because both Labonte and Waltrip have now caught Jeff Bodine. And if Bodine is trying to stretch it to 350 laps, as we heard earlier, he only has 10 more to go.
We are going to see a heck of a race here in a minute if Bodine just won't pit on us. But as soon as Labonte gets to him, I would think that Gary Nelson will bring in Jeff Bodine, because he certainly doesn't have anything to prove by staying out there. What I mean is that if they stay out and start racing and they were to have a crash or something like that, it'd be crazy, because Jeff Bodine, look, Terry Labonte goes by on the outside. Bodine doesn't even contest the market.
Bodine about to lose the lead. Here they come down the straightaway, and Terry Labonte does take the lead. Here comes Darrell Waltrip right behind him. Waltrip moves into second. Bodine drops back to third, and now we should be seeing a pit stop, we would think, by Jeff Bodine momentarily. Terry Labonte becomes our 9th different leader of the evening.
Point being here is that they circle the racetrack in about 17 and a half seconds at race speed. Bodine comes in. It's likely he's going to lose a lap. So now that strategy of stopping first underneath the red or the yellow flag for rain begins to not look good.
Well, I don't know. He has led a lot of this race.
Boy, I would think he's got to come in soon, though, because the longer he stays out there, the further away Labonte and Waltrip get. Gives him less and less time to do his work in the pits without losing a lap.
Well, the question is right now is, when did Terry Labonte stop last? I think he stopped at the same time Jeff Bodine did. If that be the case, yes, Bodine probably does need to stop.
Terry Labonte has won one race so far this year. That was in Rockingham.
Waltrip almost lost the car trying to get Labonte off to turn 4 that time.
There is Jeff Bodine running in third position. Now the leaders. We're timing the lap by Terry Labonte to see how fast they are going. And it is a 17.9 second lap. And that's about 107 miles an hour.
That is a doggone good lap at this point of the race. At 350 laps into the race, and as many laps as Terry Labonte has been out there with these tires, that's a good lap. Jackaroo down to the pits.
All right, let's update you, Benny. They're getting ready to bring Jeff Bodine in. They're coming up to that 350 mark. To update you on when Terry Labonte's coming in, and we may have a caution coming out. Going to be a break for everyone. He's scheduled to come in on lap 356. But if this slower car of Eddie Bierschwell doesn't get off the racetrack, we may have a caution.
What a break this will be for Jeff Bodine, but Bierschwell pulls off the racetrack, and so there will be no yellow. Boy, it almost came down to a break for Jeff Bodine, but not so. Bierschwell came slowly down the straightaway, but at the end of the pit wall, he pulled off of the racetrack. Now, here is Bodine coming in for the stop. Here's Jack.
So Bodine stakes his way down to the service of Gary Nelson and the Hendrick Motorsport team. They put the jack underneath the right side. They're going to take on right side tires. They're adjusting the wedge of the car behind the driver's head. One tank of fuel has gone in. The second tank being loaded. This will give him enough fuel to go the distance. But the question, of course, will be tires. Only 2 on the right side, and he's off and away. Now, the next in 15.9 seconds, but the next guy scheduled to come in just 4 laps is Terry Labonte, your current leader. We'll be back with that in a minute.
Labonte and Waltrip still running right together on the racetrack. Waltrip going low out of the second turn down the backstretch. Labonte, though, holding on to that lead.
A synopsis of Bodine coming in. He went 203 laps before he made that pit stop. He lost a lap when he came in to Waltrip and Labonte. He could go the distance. Will the tires hold up? And will he be able to catch Labonte and Waltrip? Do they have to come in yet? Yeah, we think they do.
The crew stands in readiness for the stop by Terry Labonte. But he elects to stay out there for the moment, at least, in battle with Darrell Waltrip.
I tell you what, this is I didn't think Labonte's coming
crash in the front stretch, or make it Earnhardt. Sorry.
Oh, Earnhardt hitting the wall hard in the main straightaway. Slides to the downside of the track, almost hits the inside pit wall, but manages to keep it away from there. But Earnhardt had some pretty good contact with the outside wall. He gets the car moving again, though. But this will bring out the caution.
What a break for Labonte and for Waltrip that might have lost the race for Bodine.
And that is the story of racing, ladies and gentlemen. Timing. Waltrip and Labonte both come into the pits. Jackaroo is watching the activity.
They go to work on Darrell Waltrip's car to the right side. And on the other side of the screen is Terry Labonte. They've gone to the right side as well. They're going to take on 4 tires with Labonte as well as Waltrip. What a great break for Labonte. Labonte was just 1 lap away from being called into the pits. In fact, Steve Amell was already talking to him on the radio to bring him in. You're seeing Waltrip is down and away first. They pulled away some sheet metal from Terry Labonte's left-hand tires. He's off and away, but it's still a terrific break. More so for Labonte than for Waltrip.
Earnhardt comes into the pit, so does Jeff Bodine, so does Bobby Allison and Richard Petty, Tim Richmond, Neil Bonnet, and Bobby Hillin Jr., while Darrell Waltrip catches up to the rest of the pack coming down the main straightaway. There is the damage done to the Dale Earnhardt car, as he had some pretty good contact with the wall here on the main straightaway right at the start-finish line.
I don't think anybody touched him either, Benny. I think he just lost it coming out of turn number 4. Let's take another look at it. Well, we got the end of it. This is after Dale has touched the outside wall. He starts heading down towards the lower wall. You stand on the brakes.
I don't see any car around it that he might have contact with. Maybe he came off the corner, got the car a little bit loose, and went into the wall, but I really don't know. That's strictly guesswork. And the damage to the right front really and truly doesn't look that bad.
We're in our 5th caution period of the evening. Jeff Bodine is still in the pits. They're changing rubber on the left side of the car. Now they send him away. And you're right, Jeff Bodine may have lost this race because of this most recent caution period. Yellow because of Dale Earnhardt's crash on the main straightaway. Back with more right after this.
Just because you've washed your car doesn't mean you're finished. After each wash, you need some Armor All. On the dash, the bumper, and especially the tires. After all, when you're in love, what's a few extra minutes? Armor All. It's the finishing touch every time you wash your car.
Dickies Work Clothes. It's the best-selling work set in America because it's made of the heaviest, toughest fabric in America, fortified with Fortrell. We don't have to knock out the competition. We wear them out. Dickies, the heavyweight champion of the work. Dickies makes everything in work clothes, but who says you have to work in them?
Billy Martin may be back in Yankee pinstripe.
The latest news.
Oklahoma and Nebraska are tied at 21 with a minute remaining.
Scores updated every 5 minutes.
Jack Nicklaus has just won the Masters.
The biggest stories, the fastest scores, just a phone call away all day, every day. ESPN Dial Sports, 1-900-976-1313. The numbers for scores, headlines, and ESPN program information. ESPN Dial Sports, 1-900-976-1313.
Darrell Waltrip in the Junior Johnson-owned Budweiser Chevrolet leads this Busch 500. And some statistic on Junior Johnson's record at Bristol as a car owner. He's won 8 of the last 12 races. He has more wins as a car owner here than any other short track, 20. And Junior also has a victory here as a driver. And there is Junior watching from the pit area. His drivers, Darrell Waltrip was leading, and Neil Bonnet, who was in contention for a while, but is no longer.
The second leading car owners team of all time, Holman and Moody. Third is Petty Engineering. When you think of Holman and Moody, what's the first thing, Benny, that pops in your mind? Fred Lorenzo?
Fords.
Fords, yeah, Fords, yeah.
Light on the pace car is out. We'll be going back to green on lap number 362. We only have 2 cars on the lead lap, number 11 and 44, Waltrip and Labonte. Harry Gant right behind Labonte is a lap down in 3rd. So is Bobby Allison, so is Jeff Bodine, and so is Dale Earnhardt. 2 laps down in 7th is Richard Petty, then Tim Richmond and Alan Kulwicki. Green flag, back out. Racing resumes at Bristol. And the leaders just take off like a shot, especially Darrell Waltrip. Our 28-58 update in the American League Baseball scores. Of course, we'll have a complete wrap-up on all the day's sports activity on SportsCenter later this evening after we conclude our Winston Cup race here at Bristol.
Do you believe that Boston Red Sox performance the other night? 25 runs? Woo.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Great pitching battle, eh?
Great defensive game.
Yes.
Darrell Waltrip has really opened up the advantage now over Terry Labonte. He's gained almost half a straightaway lead since the green has come back out.
Benny, who do you think has the advantage in this race right now? I don't think Bodine's going to come in anymore. I believe Waltrip has to. What about Labonte? I don't think he'll have to come in. What do you think?
I don't think Darrell Waltrip's going to have to pit again. It looks like Darrell Waltrip right now is going to make shambles of this car race. We've only been back to green 2 or 3 laps. He's driving away.
22 Allison, 33 Gant are battling for position, or 3rd as a matter of fact. They're a lap down to the leaders, and so is Jeff Bodine. He's also involved in this race.
The 44 car of Terry Labonte is holding those cars up just a little bit. I think if Bobby Allison in the 22 could get by, he maybe could catch Darrell Waltrip and do something with him, but he's going to try Labonte on the inside now as he exits turn 4.
Not able to do it, though.
Well, Benny, you're right. I had overlooked the fact that Darrell did come in. I did not see him duck into the pits during one of those caution flags. All those people running in the top 5 have been in. So at this point, Allison, Gant,
yellow,
Bodine.
Car in the wall, turn 2, DK Ulrich.
I was going to say what they need is a yellow, but they need a yellow when they're in front of Darrell, not when Darrell's out front, high, wide, and handsome like that.
Darrell's going to accelerate. He's not going to let Bobby Allison, Harry Gant, Jeff Bodine get that lap back.
I'm not sure there was wall contact by Ulrich, but he did spin over there in the 2nd turn. It brings out the yellow flag.
There was not wall contact.
No.
He just went down the front straightaway. There was no damage to the automobile.
Right. No coach work damage being shown on that number 6 machine. But the yellow does come out once again. And the word is that Terry is not happy. Labonte is not happy with his car and is going to be making a pit stop. Here comes Harry Gant in. So is Tim Richmond and Dale Earnhardt. And we'll wait to see if Terry Labonte comes in next time around. Neil Bonnet also coming in for a change of tires. It was a quick stop for Tim Richmond, and he's back out there already. And now the work completed on the Harry Gant machine. He's going back out on the racetrack. They continue to work on the Dale Earnhardt car, but it's more than just changing the tires. Now they finally get the work done, and Dale Earnhardt goes back onto the racetrack. Neil Bonnet is the only one remaining in the pit area, and now the work on his car is complete.
I don't think Earnhardt liked the 4 tires he had on the car. I don't think he liked the stagger situation that was on there because he was not able to keep up with those lead cars. He was dropping back. Therefore, he stopped, changed all 4 tires so that he could get the change of stagger more to his liking.
You know, the dog days of summer, in a way, we're in the dog laps of this race. 500 laps. We've got more than 100 laps to go, 130 laps. And I think to keep in mind specifically at this point, the cars and drivers that are only 1 lap down, they're the ones that have a chance of getting back into this. Gant, Allison, Bodine, and Earnhardt, all 1 lap down.
374 laps will be complete when they come down. And we'll be back with more of our live coverage in a moment here on ESPN.
Introducing Kodacolor VRG, film that captures the color of power.
The most accurate, realistic color and print film is here. New Kodacolor VRG.
The color of life.
The 1985 NHRA Pro Stock Champion. Tires, Goodyear Racing Eagles. The 1986 Street version. Tires, Goodyear Eagles. The 86 SCCA GT1 Champion. Tires, Goodyear Racing Eagles. The 86 Street version. Tires, Goodyear Eagles. The 85 IROC Champion. Tires, Goodyear Racing Eagles. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ford Tempo has the unusual ability to transform your daily drive into an intriguing experience. Fuel injection, precise handling. Even Tempo's shape has the ability to help it manage the road and drive like a dream.
Honey, you're going to be late for work.
Get 6.9 financing or up to $600 cash back direct from Ford, depending on model.
Night training. It never stops for Mr. Goodwrench. Cars change, he changes. He picks from over 100 General Motors service schools to stay on the leading edge of service technology. He keeps up with fuel injection, turbocharger changes, new electronics, transaxle advances, you name it. He's trained to be good. He's trained to stay good. Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better. No one.
I'm here at Terry Labonte's pit, and very quickly with Steve Himmel, you elected not to bring him in. What's the story?
Well, there's only 2 cars in the lead lap, and we actually run better as the race goes on. On new tires, we push a little bit, but Daryl's awful good anyway. I don't know if we can do a whole lot with him.
But just remember, guys, it ain't over till it's over.
It sounds like Steve may be saying Waltrip, at least at the moment, appears to have this race in the bag.
It looks like Darrell Waltrip is the class of the field. In watching it is. But hey, you've got some good cars back there. Earnhardt, Harry Gant, 25. Bobby Allison on the inside of Darrell Waltrip. We're going to see a race right now, guys.
And anything can happen on this racetrack. This race is far from over. Although Waltrip is the superior machine at the moment, there are a lot of laps to be run. And the green comes back out. We resume action.
See those sparks from Darrell when he went into turn 1, turn 2? Tell me he wasn't standing on a corner, or standing on the button rather, trying to push that gas pedal right through the floor as he went into those banks. He's trying to get out there. He is not conceding this race to himself. You heard him earlier on this broadcast in a taped interview saying, hey, I've had those leads at Bristol. I've been behind at Bristol. I am never confident when I'm up front, and I never give up when I'm behind because things happen so quick.
Battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Number 3, Dale Earnhardt, despite the fact that he crashed here on the main straightaway, is still out there, a lap down, though, in 5th. And then Harry Gant is in 6th in the number 33 car. And Gant had the inside advantage there for the moment, but gave it up.
Harry Gant just could not handle well enough on the bottom of the racetrack to make the pass on Earnhardt. Meanwhile, Tim Richmond trying to pass Harry Gant, the 25.
See the damage there on the front end of Dale Earnhardt's car as a result of that incident with the wall down here in the main straightaway. But it is not affecting the operation of that car, it seems, at all. Now Gant once again making a bid to the low side, still unable.
What Harry's going to do, he's going to try it a few times on the bottom of the racetrack, a few times on the bottom of the racetrack, and then he's going to try to drive by Earnhardt on the outside.
Cat and mouse game on the high banks. Waltrip continues to be the leader. You see the sparks coming from the underneath side of that car because of the bottoming out.
Right behind Darrell Waltrip is Bobby Allison, and Jeff Bodine and Terry Labonte are side by side.
There is Jeff Bodine. He's may have got gotten a good combination of tires and stagger, and is trying to gain the lap back. He did lose a lap and is running the lap down to the leaders in 4th position, but appears to be running well now in that Levi Garrett Chevy. Neil Bonnet has gotten out of the number 12 car. Jack Arute can fill us in.
Well, Kyle Petty has replaced Neil Bonnet at the wheel of the Budweiser Kentucky Fried Chicken number 12. What took you out of the race, Neil?
Jackie, that's the same seat that was in the car when I had the wreck in Pocono, when I broke my ribs, and it's gouging me right in the very same place. Felt like every lap somebody sticking a knife in my rib. I didn't get hot or that tired. It's just a pain, and I had to get out.
And so Kyle's in the car now.
Yeah, Kyle's in right now.
And that's a big break for Kyle Petty. He has always, throughout his career, wanted a chance to drive a Junior Johnson automobile. He's got it tonight.
Kyle Petty was the very first